Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of English for Everyone. I'm Clara, and as always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Eric.
Great to be here, Clara. Today we've got something incredibly valuable to share with our listeners. Did you know that candidates who demonstrate strong English communication skills are 60% more likely to receive job offers after interviews?
That statistic never fails to surprise me, Eric. And it's exactly why today's topic is so crucial for our listeners. We're diving into Land Your Dream Job, Mastering English for Interviews.
Absolutely. Whether you're a non-native English speaker looking for work internationally or in an English-speaking environment, the language skills you bring to an interview can make or break your chances.
We've heard from so many of our listeners who have all the qualifications for their dream positions but struggle to showcase their talents effectively during English interviews.
That's going to change after today's episode. We'll be sharing practical strategies, common interview questions, and communication techniques that will help you shine in your next job interview.
So let's dive right into why English conversation skills are absolutely crucial for job interviews in today's market.
It's really become non-negotiable, Clara. The global job market has transformed dramatically over the past decade, and strong communication skills, particularly in English, have become a must-have rather than just a nice-to-have qualification.
Exactly. With companies expanding internationally and remote work becoming more common, teams are increasingly diverse and scattered across different countries and time zones.
And English has firmly established itself as the lingua franca of business. Just think about it. When a German company hires someone from Spain to work with their team in Singapore, what language do you think they'll use to communicate?
English, of course. Statistics show that approximately 1.75 billion people worldwide speak English at a useful level. That's about 25% of the world's population.
And nearly 80% of business communications in multinational companies happen in English. So for employers, finding candidates who can communicate effectively in English means smoother operations, fewer misunderstandings, and better collaboration.
I've spoken with several hiring managers who say they specifically test for English proficiency even when the position doesn't explicitly require it. They see it as an indicator of a candidate's ability to grow within the company.
That makes perfect sense. And beyond just basic communication, demonstrating strong English abilities during an interview showcases three critical qualities that employers are looking for: professionalism, confidence, and adaptability.
Let's break those down. Professionalism comes through when you can articulate your thoughts clearly and use appropriate business vocabulary. It signals that you understand workplace norms and can represent the company well.
Confidence is projected when you can maintain a conversation without constantly hesitating or apologizing for your language skills. It suggests you'll be comfortable in client-facing roles or team leadership positions.
And adaptability, perhaps the most important of all, shows that you can thrive in diverse environments and are willing to learn and grow. Many companies see language acquisition as evidence of a growth mindset.
I've actually witnessed this firsthand. A friend of mine wasn't the most technically qualified candidate for a position, but her English communication skills were exceptional. The company hired her because they saw how effectively she could collaborate with their international teams.
That's such a great example. And it really drives home why focusing on interview-specific English skills is worth the investment of time and effort. Now that we understand why English skills are so critical for job interviews, let's talk about mastering the basics that will set you up for success.
Absolutely, Clara. The foundation of interview success in English starts with clear articulation and pronunciation. Many non-native speakers rush through their words when they're nervous, which can make them harder to understand.
That's so true. One of the most effective techniques is to practice speaking at a slightly slower pace than you normally would. It gives you time to enunciate each word clearly and helps the interviewer follow your thoughts without struggling.
I recommend recording yourself, answering practice questions, and then listening back. You'll be surprised at how many words you might be blending together or pronouncing unclearly without realizing it.
And don't be afraid to use pauses strategically. They're not signs of weakness. They show you're thoughtful and give you time to collect your thoughts rather than filling space with and
Exactly. Another fundamental skill that many candidates overlook is active listening. In the pressure of an interview, it's easy to focus so much on what you're going to say next that you don't fully hear the question being asked.
Oh, that can be disastrous. I've interviewed candidates who gave perfectly polished answers to questions I didn't actually ask. It immediately signals that they're reciting memorized responses rather than engaging in genuine conversation.
A good technique is to briefly paraphrase what you heard before answering. Something like, "So you're asking about my experience leading remote teams," confirms you understood correctly while giving you a moment to organize your thoughts.
And don't be afraid to ask for clarification if you didn't catch something. Saying, "Could you please rephrase that question?" is much better than answering incorrectly.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about vocabulary. Having a rich, industry-specific vocabulary doesn't just help you understand questions better, it actively demonstrates your expertise and familiarity with your field.
This is where targeted preparation really pays off. Before your interview, review job descriptions for positions similar to the one you're applying for, and make note of recurring technical terms or phrases.
Industry publications, company blogs, and LinkedIn posts from professionals in your field are also gold mines for relevant vocabulary. Try to incorporate these terms naturally into your practice sessions.
But remember, there's a fine line between using professional terminology appropriately and overloading your answers with jargon just to sound impressive. Authenticity always wins over memorized buzzwords.
That's right. And one final tip I'd add is to practice transitional phrases that can help you structure your answers smoothly. Furthermore, in addition to that, on the other hand, or to illustrate this point,
Those linguistic bridges make such a difference in how polished and coherent your responses sound. They guide the interviewer through your thought process and demonstrate sophisticated language skills.
now let's tackle one of the most challenging aspects of job interviews: answering common interview questions in English. These questions may seem simple, but they require thoughtful preparation, especially in a second language.
Exactly, Clara. Let's start with the classic opener. Tell me about yourself. This question trips up many candidates because it's so open-ended.
The key here is to be concise and relevant. You don't need to share your entire life story. Instead, focus on your professional journey and skills that relate to the position.
Let me demonstrate a strong response. I'm a marketing professional with 5 years of experience in digital campaign management. I've worked with both B2B and B2C brands, helping them increase their online engagement by an average of 30%. I'm particularly passionate about data-driven strategies and content creation, which I notice are central to this role.
Notice how Eric kept it under a minute, highlighted relevant experience, and connected his background to the position. That's exactly what interviewers are looking for.
Another common question is, why are you interested in this position? This is where your research about the company becomes crucial.
Right. A weak answer would be, "Because the salary is good and I need a job." Instead, try something like, "I'm drawn to this position because it combines data analysis and creative problem solving, which align perfectly with my skills. I'm also impressed by your company's commitment to sustainability, as evidenced by your recent green initiatives, and I'd love to contribute to an organization with those values.
Now let's move on to behavioral questions, which often begin with, "Tell me about a time when." These questions require specific examples from your past experiences.
These can be particularly challenging in a second language because you need to tell a coherent story while under pressure. This is where the STAR method becomes invaluable.
The STAR method is a structured way to answer behavioral questions. It stands for situation, task, action, and result. Let me break it down.
First, describe the situation. Set the context for your story. Then explain the task. What was your responsibility in that situation? Next, detail the action. What steps did you take? Finally, share the result. What was the outcome of your actions?
Let me demonstrate with the question, "Tell me about a time you faced a significant challenge at work."
Go ahead. I'll be the interviewer. Tell me about a challenging situation you faced at work and how you handled it.
In my previous role as project manager, our team was midway through developing a new software platform when our lead developer unexpectedly resigned. This was a critical setback as we had a major client presentation in just 2 weeks. My task was to ensure the project stayed on track despite losing this key team member. I immediately conducted a team meeting to redistribute responsibilities based on each person's strengths. I also arranged for additional training sessions and extended our working hours slightly. As a result, we not only met our deadline, but delivered a product that exceeded the client's expectations, securing a 2-year contract extension worth $500,000.
That's an excellent example of using the STAR method effectively. You clearly outline the situation, task, action, and result, making your answer both compelling and easy to follow.
Remember, preparation is key. Before your interview, list out 5 to 10 professional achievements or challenges and structure them using the STAR method. This gives you a ready arsenal of stories to draw from.
And don't be afraid to pause briefly to gather your thoughts before answering a difficult question. A thoughtful response is always better than a rushed one.
Now that we've covered how to answer common questions, let's talk about powerful communication strategies that go beyond just your words.
Absolutely. In many ways, how you communicate can be just as important as what you say during an interview.
Let's start with nonverbal communication. Eye contact is crucial in Western business culture. It demonstrates confidence and shows that you're engaged in the conversation.
That's right, but it's important to find the right balance. Constant, unblinking eye contact can come across as intense or intimidating. Instead, aim for natural eye contact, looking at the interviewer while speaking and listening, with occasional breaks.
I've coached many English learners who tend to look down or away when formulating responses in English. It's completely understandable when you're thinking in another language, but try to maintain that connection even when you're processing your thoughts.
Another important aspect is your tone of voice. Even if your grammar isn't perfect, speaking with enthusiasm and positive energy can make a tremendous impression.
Exactly. I remember interviewing a candidate whose English had some grammatical errors, but her passion for the role was so evident in her voice that it overshadowed any language imperfections. She got the job because we could tell she was genuinely excited about the opportunity.
That's a great point. Sometimes non-native speakers focus so much on getting the words right that they speak in a flat, monotone voice. Practice varying your intonation and adding appropriate emphasis to key points.
Body language matters too. Sitting up straight, offering a firm handshake, and using natural hand gestures can all contribute to a positive impression.
And don't forget about the power of a genuine smile. It's universally understood and helps establish rapport with your interviewer.
Now, let's shift to another powerful strategy: asking thoughtful questions when given the opportunity.
This is often overlooked, but asking insightful questions demonstrates that you've done your research and are seriously considering the role as a good fit for your career.
What kinds of questions would you recommend, Eric?
Questions about the company's culture, team dynamics, or challenges the department is facing show that you're thinking beyond just getting hired. You're considering how you'll contribute.
For example, you might ask, could you tell me about the team I'd be working with? Or what would success look like in this position after 6 months? Another effective question is, what challenges is the company currently facing that someone in this position could help solve? This shows you're already thinking about how to add value.
Just make sure you're not asking basic questions that are clearly answered on the company's website. Your questions should demonstrate that you've done your homework. And remember to prepare these questions in advance. It's perfectly fine to bring a small notebook with prepared questions to reference during the interview.
Now, let's talk about making a strong finish to your interview. Eric, would you agree that how you end an interview is just as important as how you begin it?
Absolutely. The conclusion of your interview creates that final impression that often sticks with the hiring manager. It's your last opportunity to reinforce why you're the right candidate for the position.
One of the simplest yet most effective techniques is expressing genuine gratitude for the interviewer's time. Something like, "Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today. I've really enjoyed learning more about the position and the company."
Right, and this is also the perfect moment to reiterate your interest in the role. You might say, after our conversation, I'm even more excited about the possibility of joining your team because.
And then fill in that blank with something specific you learned during the interview that resonated with you. This shows you are actively listening and can connect your skills to their needs.
Exactly. It's those personalized details that make your interests feel authentic rather than generic.
Once the interview is over, don't underestimate the power of a follow-up communication. Sending a thank you email within 24 hours can really set you apart.
In many cultures, this step isn't common practice, but in English-speaking professional environments, it's often expected and always appreciated.
The thank you email doesn't need to be lengthy. Just a few sentences thanking them for their time, mentioning something specific from your conversation, and reaffirming your interest in the position.
And if there was something you forgot to mention during the interview, a follow-up email provides the perfect opportunity to briefly address it.
Another powerful tool for leaving a lasting impression is having a well-crafted elevator pitch. This is essentially a 30-second summary of who you are professionally.
Think of it as your professional highlight reel, concise, compelling, and customized to the position you're seeking.
A good elevator pitch typically includes your professional background, key strengths, and what specifically you can bring to the role. It's something you might use at the beginning of an interview, but also in a slightly modified form at the end.
For example, as someone with 5 years of experience in digital marketing and a passion for data-driven strategies, I'm confident I can help your team increase conversion rates while developing innovative campaigns that align with your brand values.
Notice how that example ties together experience, skills, and specific value they'd bring to the employer, all in just one sentence.
These concluding strategies might seem small, but together they create a professional image that can be the deciding factor between you and another equally qualified candidate.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode on mastering English for job interviews. We've covered so much ground today, haven't we, Eric? We certainly have, Clara. We started by discussing why strong English skills are crucial in today's global job market, showing employers your professionalism and adaptability.
Then we dove into the fundamental interview skills: clear articulation, active listening and building that industry-specific vocabulary that demonstrates your expertise in your field.
We also walk through how to tackle those common interview questions, using techniques like the STAR method to structure compelling responses that showcase your experience and skills.
And don't forget those powerful communication strategies: maintaining eye contact, projecting enthusiasm, and asking thoughtful questions that show you're genuinely interested in the role.
Finally, we share techniques for ending interviews on a high note, expressing gratitude, following up appropriately, and having that polished elevator pitch ready to go.
The most important thing to remember is that all these skills can be developed with consistent practice. You don't need to master everything overnight.
Absolutely. Try recording yourself answering practice questions, or better yet, do mock interviews with a friend who can give you honest feedback.
Even spending just 15 minutes each day practicing your pronunciation or expanding your professional vocabulary will make a significant difference over time.
And remember, every interview is a learning opportunity, regardless of the outcome. Each one helps you refine your approach and become more comfortable communicating in English.
We'd love to hear how these strategies work for you. Share your interview experiences or questions with us on our social media channels or website.
Until next time, keep practicing, stay confident, and remember, the right words can open doors to amazing opportunities.